question for you. When somebody buys some marketable commodity that's not perishable, like gold or silver or something of that sort, when somebody buys the market to the point where it's got very little of that particular commodity, what happens to the price of that commodity? I think pretty much everybody understands that what will happen is its price will increase if people really want it, right? Well, now here comes the next question. If a rich person has a lot of money and they put it in a bank account somewhere, what actually happens to the value of currency currently in flow in the country or the place where it is? What happens? It doesn't take a genius to figure this stuff out. Its value increases. A dollar will buy more goods. That's what you need to understand. And that's why today I wanted to talk about this idea, this kind of fallacious idea of this major problem with a wage gap on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Saturday, the 21st, Saturday, the 21st of August of 2021. Thank you to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and YouTube. Welcome. The subject today, as I say, is going to be the wealth gap, and I'm going to go ahead and very quickly go through my notes in order to give you an idea sort of what I'm going to talk about today. How many times have you heard it? The gap between the very wealthy and those below them is widening. It's a song people without a lot of intelligence or knowledge love to sing. The fact is, it's far more important to worry about the gap between cost and earnings. Most of those folks with vast amounts of wealth put that money into storage somewhere or use it to make themselves even richer. The latter requires investment, which generally means they must pay people to do things to increase their bottom line. Even the rich understand, though, I have to have buyers in order to sell things. On top of that, they must be able to afford to buy things, that is, those buyers, if I want for them to be able to do so. So what's the problem? Well, a large part of it is that government meddles in things they ought to leave alone. When they do things like force wage increases, one of the obvious effects is that prices go up to match. When they tax those they tax, find ways to build that cost into their prices. No surprise. The certain result is prices go up. The worse a given community gets into debt, so if government decides to use debt to finance what it's doing, the more likely you'll see prices increase as a result. Are you beginning to see a pattern here? Okay, I'm done with my notes. Here's the thing. If rich people do things, they can do things that are bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that they always do right and good and so forth. But most of the time, it's in their best interest to make sure that people out there who are not rich have the stuff they need to live good, happy lives. For multiple reasons. One of them being that people turn on the rich when they don't. One of them being that if they don't have that, then the rich don't get richer because they can't sell things to anybody. There's nobody to sell things to. You sell back and forth between the rich like Eskimos trading hats, right? They can do that, but that's really all they can do. On the other hand, when government gets involved in things really start to get gummed up. This recent tendency to subsidize workers and make it so that workers won't go back to work because they're not going to make $15 an hour or whatever it happens to be is a perfect example of this. So we drive wages up, and that drives the worth of the dollar down, which means that even though you got a wage increase, in the long run, it really doesn't help you at all to have done so. Again, rich people have a set of interests, and among their interests typically is to stay rich. And part of the way they do that, besides hoarding money, which, like I say, makes the existing money out there become worth more so that you can buy more with it. But besides doing that, it's to get people to do things for them that will increase their net worth. And I'm going to say this again. Look, let's say you've got a person out there and that person is buying a yacht or a luxury condominium or a mansion somewhere. People make mansions. People make yachts. People build luxury condominiums. Without those people doing that work, those things don't exist. Those people who do that may end up being wealthy as a result. They may not, but we know this. They're getting money to do things for people that are well off. This is reality, and we need to face that. Your concern should not be between how much the rich people make or hold or whatever and how much you do. It should be on the difference between not the difference between, but on, sort of the difference, right, between what you make and what things cost. If prices continue to go up and your wages don't continue to go up, that is a problem, right? That's a problem. The point is that, again, if you look at rich people holding on to cash, what they're doing is they're increasing the value of that cash. If you look at rich people spending their money to make themselves richer, then typically they're going to spend it with people who are going to help them to do that. And generally speaking, they're going to try and save as much money as they can in the process of doing that. That's how they got rich, was to continue to save money. They didn't get rich by accident. They got rich by purposeful activity of various kinds. So this is what you need to understand, right? And again, if you talk about rich people splurging on themselves, who do they splurge with? Do they splurge with themselves? Do you have Eskimos trading hats, like I say, with rich people given to rich people? No, typically that's not how that works. They go out and they find people who have the best of this or that, and they buy that. That's what they do. Oh, I want a yacht. Okay, well, you need to find a yacht builder. Maybe the yacht builder is rich, but he or she is employing a lot of people who maybe aren't. Oh, I want this luxury condominium. Well, you've got construction workers out there building luxury condominiums. Is that worth it? I think it is. I think it is. You worrying about this wealth gap, this gap between your wealth and the wealth of those people who are rich and fat and happy, is a ridiculous thing. They can only spend so much money, and even the ones who spend a lot of money, you're going to find are spending what they're spending on things that are going to be beneficial to other individuals. It is not sensible to spend your time worried about the wealth gap between the very rich and the very poor even. It's not worth it. What you need to figure out is to do two things. One, to make it so that people are making more money so that they're happy with what they're getting. Forget what the rich have, right? Forget that. They need to be making more money as a rule. So you and people like you out there, everyday people, need to be looking at the idea of trying to increase what you're making. And yes, that means you're going to have to make sacrifices and maybe do things that you don't want to do. But you know what? That's life. I have to do that. Okay? This is not something new. And the second thing is to bring up the value of the currency, the money, if you will, that's currently out on the market. What Dan Bongino has said a number of times is absolutely correct. When you've got more money chasing less product, the prices of products go up. So when you have somebody that's rich and they're putting their money in a bank account somewhere, and that person therefore is not spending that money, it means the value of the money on the market goes up, in the marketplace goes up, because there's less of it out there, and the things that it's chasing therefore are become less expensive comparatively to the money, right? So I'm going to say this again, and I hope that it makes sense to you. If you're worried about the wealth gap between the very rich and even the middle class, stop. Stop worrying about that. That's not something you need to spend your time or effort on. It's just not. Worry about how your wages compare to prices. Worry about people out there finding better jobs to make more money so that they can be fat and happy, if you will, in their little world. These are the things that you need to spend your time on. Stop spending your time thinking about that wealth gap. It's inconsequential for the most part. The only way it becomes consequential is if that person dumps money on the market. And then that money, the money they put out there, causes there to be more money on the market, which chases less goods, and the result is, unless you have an increase in production, people actually buying the stuff that's being produced, things are going to cost more. All right. I need to go ahead and wrap this up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Saturday, the 21st of August of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Sunday, the 22nd of August of 2021. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a plus or a positive Rumble on Rumble. You can give me a minus or a negative rumble on Rumble. You can also use the boxing glove for a positive rumble. And you can give me a thumbs up or a like on YouTube. You can give me a thumbs down or a dislike on YouTube if you feel the need to do that. Obviously, I prefer positive feedback, but I also want for people to let me know when I'm not producing stuff that they find useful, beneficial, or worthwhile. That said, that also means that you can give me comments on both YouTube and Rumble, and I appreciate your doing that if you take the time to do it, and I recognize that a lot of people don't feel like they have the time to spend on that. Subject for today has been the wealth gap. Tomorrow we're going to talk about a subject that Dan Bongino likes to use a lot, and I think he's a little confused on certain parts of this. It's part of what he's saying is correct, but I think there are some parts that we need to discuss on that. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. It is Saturday. That means for those of you who are believers who count themselves Sabbath keepers, today is your Sabbath, so I hope you're having a good Sabbath today. For those of you who aren't, I appreciate those who are working on the weekend. I promise you that it's horribly beneficial to people like me who need to be able to get out on the weekend lots of times and do things that we cannot manage to do on the weekdays. I hope that things are going well for you, and hopefully we will see you on Sunday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Saturday the 21st of August of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S. .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.